Fortunately, I won't be here for that.
Notes.
Yeah, if I have time, I might drop, but
Regular meeting for the Toledo City Council for August 21st, 2024 to order. So are we doing public comments now first?
No, we're doing.
No, we're doing a pledge of
allegiance.
allegiance.
Okay. All right, just wanted to make sure. All right, so our first item is pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call. Counselor Burns.
I'm here.
Counselor Mix.
Yes.
Counselor Kaufman.
Here.
Counselor Strong.
Present.
Counselor Sonia.
Yep.
Council President Bush.
yes.
And here we have a full council this evening. First up, visitors, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on items not on our agenda this evening?
If there's anybody online who would like to address the council, please raise your hand electronically and you will be recognized. I don't see any hands raised, Mayor.
All right. Next item is consent agenda, minutes from the work session held June 26, 2024. Any questions on the item? Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question and let me get to that page. It is on page 3 of 69 packet. The council was talking about ordinance 1421 of whether to continue a 2-year ban on psilocybin service centers, and towards the bottom of the page, line 43, Counselor Sylvia made his motion as it's written on the notes, on the minutes. But then when Mayor Cross recited the motion, it was different. And so not knowing what the intent of the motion was, I would like clarification.
I'm trying to find that on here.
On page 3.
Page 3 of 7,
It's-
which page?
We're talking about Miss,
Four of
oh,
73.
okay,
Oh.
because I was looking at Barry Brewster talking on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I was.
Electronically, it's page 4, sorry.
There we go.
Line 43.
Yeah.
Motion, it was moved and seconded to select option.
So what are you asking?
Let the moratorium.
So when you made the motion, you said let the moratorium expire with the option to bring it back if a problem arises. However, when Mayor Cross recited the motion, he read it as it was written in the staff report, saying to bring back an ordinance to the council approving the land use zones.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I just listened to the audio, so that's the only reason why I'm familiar with this.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure, I know what the intent was.
You read it.
I don't think my intent was to have it come back as an
Official one,
ordinance.
not his abbreviate. Okay. The intent was his.
Okay,
Yes.
I will make a note of that for the minutes and
Thank you.
thank you.
With that taken care of, I would accept the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended from the session June 26, 2024.
Second.
Been moved by Frank, seconded by Jackie Kaufman to accept the consent agenda as amended, which is the minutes from the work session held June 26, 2024. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. What's your vote, Councilor Burns?
I'm sorry. Yes, I minimized the screen so I couldn't find my hand.
That is well said in the era of Zoom. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, next item is mine. So for those if you've had a chance to look over these materials, it gives you a good brief introduction, and I say brief because as you will find out as we go through this, to something that can radically change everything we do, especially here in Toledo and on the Oregon coast in specific. So if you look at the first one, Oregon NFIP biological opinion, when you hear the phrase FEMA biop, that's what they're talking about. So background on the Oregon NFIP biological opinion. In 2009, FEMA was sued by the Portland Audubon Society and several environmental groups in Oregon. In 2010, FEMA settled, agreed to consult regarding the effects of the NFIP in Oregon on threatened and endangered species and designated critical habitat. In April of 2016, the National Marine Fisheries Service issued the Oregon NFIP biological opinion, BIOP. The BIOP concluded FEMA's implementation of the NFIP in Oregon jeopardizes the continued existence of threatened and endangered species and adversely modifies designated critical habitat. So now the Oregon NFIP BIOP in April 2016. BIOP includes a 6-element reasonable and prudent alternative. RPA. RPA equals National Marine Fisheries Service roadmap to FEMA about how to change its implementation of the NFIP to avoid violating the Endangered Species Act. The RPA is one option available to FEMA. FEMA may take an alternative course of action if it also avoids jeopardy and adverse modification. Original deadline for action not requiring regulatory change in response to the BIOP was 2018. Congress, through Representative Fazio, extended implementation period to 3 years. So if you look at the map on the next slide, these are the areas subject to the NFIP BIOP. It applies within 30 of Oregon's 36 counties, applies to more than 250 NFIP participating communities, cities and towns.
And 2 tribes.
And 2 tribes, correct. If you look at that map, it's essentially everywhere we live.
Almost the entire state.
Yep. And the interesting part for me is that, can anyone venture a guess why Klamath County is not included in
I
this?
was wondering about that.
Because that basin empties into California.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, since
It
it
empties
does
out.
not empty into either the ocean off the Oregon coast
Right.
or one of the tributaries that empty into the ocean on the Oregon coast, it is not part of this action.
And I believe the intent of FEMA is, once they've done it with Oregon, is to, we're the test case for the country.
Yes.
Oh, joy.
And we'll get into part of the reasons why we think they're going to use this as a test case. So next slide, FEMA's draft implementation plan. In October 2021, FEMA issued its draft implementation plan. Draft plan varies from the RPA and focuses on preventing and restoring 3 main floodplain functions. Flood storage, limit new fill or require compensatory flood storage to offset any new fill. Water quality, limit new impervious surface and heightened stormwater requirements. Limited improvement district and non-structural approaches. Riparian vegetation, restrict removal within 170 feet of a water feature.
Oh, good God.
So that means that people on the sleds can't cut the brush down to the river?
Trees more than 6 inches in diameter.
Invasive species you have to get rid of, and they're gonna tell you not to.
Trees
have
more than 6 inches, can't cut them down.
And now you guys know why I'm bringing this to us.
Yeah, 6 inches in diameter.
Well, who's never mind. I was just.
Yeah, because of-
I'm just.
Draft plan includes direction to avoid new non-water dependent development in the floodplain. Restricts future land divisions in a floodplain. Allowance for 1 unit per existing parcel to avoid takings claims provided they preserve 3 floodplain functions. Yes, Jackie?
Oh, sweet Jesus, shoot me now.
One unit?
Yes,
per parcel.
per parcel. Parcel, not square feet. Parcel,
Parcel.
parcel, yes.
So you got a 20-acre parcel.
Uh-huh,
You can only build
one,
one.
yes. In a floodplain.
It's more complicated. It gets better.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Better.
And you wouldn't.
So they put their rules out
Would be
today. That's what got added to your packet this afternoon, okay? I'm not gonna go into all of those. I'm just gonna run through the slides and then we'll talk a little bit,
Yeah.
okay? And I'll let Michael, if you wanna bring that up now, go ahead.
I have so much to talk about.
Okay, I'll say this for the
slide.
Are
Okay.
they allowing you to reparcel?
No,
No, because that's a land use
it's
action.
land.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, right.
Okay.
So,
I-
next slide. FEMA's draft implementation plan. In March 2023, FEMA began the NEPA process to evaluate the impacts of its draft plan.
Yes.
FEMA elected
I can comment there.
Yes.
The National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, was passed in 1970, and it requires that federal agencies to assess the environmental impacts of proposed actions prior to making decisions.
Right.
And, you know, part of what NEPA requires, what you end up with is environmental impact statements. So when you look at, let's just say the draft EIS, the actual environmental impact statement is forthcoming in the future.
Yes, and then we go into that here in this slide. So FEMA elected to prepare an environmental impact statement, recognizing that the impacts of its plan are likely significant to NFIP participating jurisdiction and floodplain property owners. FEMA's schedule for balance of environmental impact statement has slipped. Original plan was the draft EIS was supposed to be in summer of 2024. The final EIS, I don't know what ROD stands for other than me. That's not to be done until spring 2025. This was in the original plan. The community implementation beginning fall of 2025 with an 18-month rollout. Now, their revised plan is the draft environmental impact statement early in 2025, planning 75-day comment public outreach period. No date started for final environmental impact statement. And there's a link there in our slides if you want to go look at their quarterly updates. Next slide, please.
Probably be a little.
Key concerns with FEMA's approach. Consultation between FEMA and National Marine Fisheries Service, but consulting requirements imposed on state and local governments. No regulatory basis for the proposed requirements. FEMA has declined to take it through their federal rulemaking, which they're supposed to do, but they've declined to ignore that because it's only in one state, is how they're saying they can do this.
So they're doing this one state at a time and they're gonna,
They're using us as their guinea pig, okay? FEMA is eager to shift the burden to local governments irrespective of whether the new standards work with existing Oregon policies and laws. Don't worry, Counselor Adams has some real eye-opening stuff for us later when we get to the discussion part. Unclear whether National Marine Fisheries Service will accept FEMA's implementation plan. Communities who decline to adopt the new standards will be removed from the national, now I know what NFIP is, National Floodplain Insurance Program.
Right.
So if we decline to go on with their stuff, then all of our folks that are in the floodplain lose their flood insurance.
Right.
Okay? Okay. Property owners who rely on NFIP for flood insurance required by their mortgages will be in default. That immediately kicks you into default with your lender.
Nothing like holding us under the fire.
Exactly. Community will not qualify for federal disaster assistance. Next slide. FEMA's new pre-implementation measures. In response to pressure from lawsuit filed by the Northwest Environmental Defense Center and the Center for Biological Diversity, FEMA has abandoned its prior commitment to complete the environmental impact statement before implementing any changes. National Floodplain Insurance Program participating communities in Oregon must select, I'm guessing,
It's a pre-implementation, something.
pre-implementation option by December 1st this year. These options include adopting a model ordinance that considers impacts to species and their habitat and requires mitigation to a no net loss standard. Choosing to require a habitat assessment and mitigation plan for floodplain development on a permit by permit basis, or prohibiting floodplain development in the special flood hazard area. Communities must report to FEMA on their implementation of interim measures beginning on January 31st, 2025. Next slide, please. Additionally, beginning August 1st, this month, FEMA will stop processing applications for letters of map revision based on fill.
Mayor, that's a misprint. It actually happened in August of 2023.
Okay, thank you.
And anything submitted after that. So if you put a bunch of fill in, historically, you got a permit, you put a bunch of fill in, it probably took you out of the floodplain. So that's where you get your letters for map revision, your LOMAR and your conditional letters of map revision. And some that are in process, you know, if you haven't submitted one now, who knows when you'll be able to submit one again in the future. They're just not processing them.
Right. So this is going to impact any owners who seek to have their properties removed from the flood hazard map after placing fill on a lot to raise the building pad above the floodplain area.
The base flood elevation.
Base flood elevation. Thank you, guys. Next slide, please. Key components of the FEMA's model ordinance. No net loss standards includes no new fill in areas of the floodplain that could be fish habitat. No new impervious surface in the floodplain. So in other words, remember how we authorized the paving down at the city shops?
So I sent an email today recommending that we pave it before December if we're gonna do it.
You've talked about moving tennis courts down to.
Yeah, we will not be able to move the tennis courts down to Memorial Field.
Won't be able to redo the bathrooms at Memorial
Won't
Field.
be able to redo the bathrooms at Memorial Field.
What?
They're in the floodplain.
They're in the flood. Trust me, I played football on that field.
What they're saying is in the floodplain, remember how in the floodway out in the water that the port had to get the H&H analysis, the hydraulic, saying there's no net rise?
Yeah.
What they're saying is,
We would have to have one of those analysis to.
no, what they're saying is in the floodplain out there where our police station is, where one of the tennis courts is, where the property is down by our shops.
Property.
Yes, all of
Yes.
this property.
No more fill. You can't use fill from where the ground is up to the, normally you can use fill and put it up to the base flood elevation. They're saying in these new rules that you have to leave that open for egress and ingress of fish in the event that
There's
That
a
it
flood.
floods.
there's a flood.
So we're not gonna be able to build our
The gym, yeah, all of that, okay?
Wait, that's gonna affect.
Yeah, because part of it's in the floodplain goes all the way up A Street.
Yeah, the floodplain
This could
is
run
one of the tennis courts.
So that's gonna affect the pool.
Essentially,
Yeah.
it's actually
The
entire-
pool.
It's gonna affect the pool, but it's gonna affect the gym that we'd like to put down below it.
So we're not gonna be able to.
If this goes through, yes. Now, let me finish going through this and we've got much to discuss. So no net loss of trees 6 inches in diameter or larger in the floodplain. Exceptions, normal maintenance of roads, utilities, levees, and other structures And they may say that, but the experience in Warrenton, which I don't know if any of you've been to Warrenton. Warrenton is a city surrounded by a levee and dike system. Because the entire city, with the exception of, I think, 3 acres, according to Henry, with the exception of 3 acres, is in the floodplain. Okay? They haven't been allowed to do any brush clearing or anything on their levees. Yeah.
Well, that seems
Oh,
foolish
it-
because
yeah.
then you can't maintain your levees.
So would this also affect the raising of the dam if we were to go that way?
No, because it's,
It's outside of.
yeah,
okay.
it's outside there. All right, next slide, please.
Newport's though.
Yeah, it'll probably affect Newport's. Because I think that section of Big Creek is down in the, yeah. So, wonderful. Oregonians for floodplain protection are strategizing a response likely to include litigation, outreach to federal legislative delegation, outreach to state legislative delegation and agencies, developing strategies to support NFIP participating jurisdictions in responding to this. Where it says called, this is from July is when I got it. So. Next slide, people to contact. Okay, if you're interested in this, Tillamook County's all over it. Clatsop County is all over it. The more this gets out, the more, especially those of us on the coast, are like, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, because one of the things that Warrenton's been told, because Warrenton, like Bull Bay, has their own docks. Okay, and so they have the Corps come in and dredge those docks about every 5 years. Okay. Well, what they've been told, because they're due to have that done next year, what they've been told by FEMA is that, well, we don't know if we can allow the Corps to do that
Because of less fish.
because of the turbidity that it causes. So I'm curious, are we ever going to be able to dredge the river again?
Yeah. makes
So
you
that we
wonder.
can get boats up here, so that we can utilize the slough here. This whole thing, okay? When people talk about government overreach, this should be the poster child. Because not only is it government overreach, but here comes the fun part. As far as I know, since we just got this notice from them about their model ordinance, a city would have to start literally on September 1st to do everything to get that implemented by December 1st, because it's got to go through a planning committee.
I can answer
Would you please?
that exact question if I get.
I'm not sure we have enough time.
Well, if we would have done something this week, we would have, but
That's what I mean.
I thought it was
started.
fine to not. There needs to be a draft. Find this. I need to have a draft ordinance prepared that can be uploaded by August 23rd to the state. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be 80-90% solution. Submitted to DLCD by September 27th. And November 13th Planning Commission hearing and December 4th City Council hearing, which makes us 3 days late from the December 1st deadline.
Yeah.
So on December 1st, we have 3 options. We say you can't do anything in the floodplain, which is one option that the city can take. Measure 56, you're taking away property rights. You're putting a big sign on your forehead, please sue me. I don't think that's the right answer. The other option is their model ordinance that's 39 pages, I think, and I can describe it a little bit. The other option, which is the default if we don't, which is the default that FEMA is considering in place until you select nothing in the floodplain or the ordinance, is a case by case permit by permit evaluation. Well, they're saying that we need to do a environmental assessment, have somebody do an environmental assessment for the permit for no rise in the floodplain. And what we're talking about is no fill between where the ground is now and the base flood elevation. When we have development, we usually have a base flood, an architect will set a date, set a
height.
level, a height.
Right.
So there's no fill in that. There's no impervious surface, no paving. Any kind of, you're gonna end up with the same thing, any kind of putting on legs or stilts. You're gonna have to mitigate elsewhere. Depending on what area you're in, different, cut down one tree, you're gonna have to plant 8 in one, if you're in one area, and 6 if you're in another, and 10 if you're in another. It's really just I sat through 2 hours of them talking about implementing this today, and it's 2 hours I'll never get back. Portland, Corvallis, Salem, Milwaukee, Eugene, I think Gresham. There were 84 participants, and I was angry when it ended. But they just, the FEMA guy at the end answering questions, and FEMA's understanding is it won't trigger a Measure 56 notice.
Oh, sorry.
Talk to your local attorneys. Well, and
I'm a local attorney.
and I think Measure 50, I think it will.
Oh,
It'll definitely trigger, it's definitely impacting your property rights.
Mhm.
If I say you can't pave.
oh, it's not just that. It's not just that. You want to put in a raised bed.
Yeah.
You can't do that because that's filled.
It's filled.
Exactly.
And they're talking about.
Now to open up your property at all.
Better
There was an example given, if you have a house and it has a 200 square foot kind of paved area outside where your deck is, that's already there. You might be able to do your 200 square foot out.
Me.
But if you don't have that,
But this is what Warrenton, if any of you know Mayor Valency from Warrenton, you definitely understand this. So what they've done is because like I said, their entire city's in the floodplain,
Yeah.
right? So every time their planning commission has something come to them, they send it to FEMA. FEMA has said, nope, you got to get a permit. You have to get a flood permit for that. For putting it on an impervious surface that's already there. Because it would affect the flow of the
Right,
fish.
if it floods.
well, and dredging in the floodway right now is part of the definition of development in the zone. But what we're saying is there's a no net loss of natural and beneficial floodplain functions. It is kind of what this ordinance is getting at. And I'll read you: fish accessible space, the volumetric space available to fish to access; fish egressable space, the volumetric space available to fish to exit or leave from. Let me read you one more.
That when fish
Um,
breaks, then we do.
You reading my mind over there?
I was thinking that's good.
I like to eat fish.
No net loss, a standard where adverse impacts must be avoided or offset through adherence to certain requirements so that there is no net change in the function from the existing condition when a development application is submitted to the state, tribal, or local jurisdiction. Well, that's not, the floodplain functions of floodplain storage, water quality, and vegetation must be maintained. That's not what I intended to read, but There's one more that undeveloped space. This is what you have to keep. The volume of flood capacity and fish accessible egressable habitat from the existing ground to the base flood elevation that's undeveloped. Any form of development, including but not limited to the addition of fill, structures, concrete structures, vaults or tanks, pilings, levees, and dikes, or any other development that reduces flood storage volume and fish accessible egressable habitat must achieve no loss. So,
After December.
well, December is kind of our deadline. We say nothing allowed in the floodplain. We adopt the ordinance. Or we do it permit by permit, but part of the problem is there's nothing in our existing ordinance that has criteria or has the authority for me to require you to do an environmental assessment on a permit by permit basis. So for cities that don't enact the ordinance and cities that don't the model ordinance or enact an ordinance that says no development in the floodplain, there's no authority to ask you for that.
And
So they're taking their environmental impact statement, you know, their net NEPA application that gonna result in a final environmental impact statement isn't through the federal process, but yet they're requiring the cities and counties, you know, 239 communities and 31 counties to do this.
But they aren't.
Well, they said we don't have the authority to require it. So, but you do. So
we're gonna hold you hostage by telling you that we're gonna
That-
take your flood insurance and we're gonna take that
yes,
and leave you open to litigation if you don't do what we can't do.
yes.
so,
With no understanding of the land use system at all
Well, they
and
don't
no,
care.
and no attempt to understand. They don't care.
Yeah.
At least from what I've seen.
no, they don't. The group that put the slide deck together, they're reaching out to folks like us across the state. And I'm reaching out to the Oregon Mayors Association to try and get as many cities to pledge support for litigation. For cities of our size, we're looking at maybe $5,000 to get in on it, okay? And I will tell you that when it comes to litigation, the more cities we can get signed on, the better. Because the initial litigation is essentially an injunction, no, you can't do this. Until everything gets reviewed by the courts.
Right.
Okay? And I'll be honest, a part of me, because I don't like being blackmailed, I am just curious if within the Oregon statutes, if this is considered blackmail. And if it is, because it has to do with money,
Yeah.
okay? If it is, then
It's not a
what would
federal
stop
offense.
us from suing the entire federal government for blackmail?
Yeah, I like it.
Because I'm serious, folks. This makes my blood boil.
It's
I think
ridiculous.
Pretty much
You get too
stop
far and they're gonna separate.
everything.
You know, and the thing that would fix it is some private, very wealthy person coming along and setting up insurance for us that competes with FEMA. So we could all say, screw you, and get private insurance, you know, for flood insurance. And then FEMA would be like, oh, shoot, I guess we better be nicer.
No, so it would then crack down more and they find a way to crack down on that person.
Well, that and
So-
it states
so
that
can I-
they would hold back from any natural disaster.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was
Well, that's what they're talking
private
about,
insurance.
Well, that's black.
To cover
Well,
I mean, if it's not flood stuff, then
What we were told today,
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Oregon had 400 flood insurance claims from 2013 to 17. with payments of over $6.7 million. How many how many people have floodplain insurance here that's required by the lender? I don't know.
Everybody that's in the
Everybody in the
federally
floodplain.
regulated floodplain.
Yeah.
Jackie?
I'm really hard pressed to understand why. Like, who and what is behind this? I mean, definitely we've got unelected bureaucrats that are overreaching, but why? What's in it for whoever's behind this to really, what's the impetus? I don't get it.
It's the,
I'm afraid I can't reply because I would be extremely snarky and it probably wouldn't be really well to say in public.
Basically, Jackie, I have not that problem. People think fish are more important than people. So you got idiots out there petting their cat, drinking their latte and their overpriced whatever, who think that they should tell regular people who are trying to live and work in, in a natural resources industry or just trying to live. And they want to say, oh, you might hurt one of my fishies, so you shouldn't be able to do that anymore. And so they took their money that they inherited from grandma and grandpa because they don't know how to work it themselves and went and got a lawyer and sued the government. And now they're trying to force the government to blackmail the rest of us into doing what they want.
Here's
That's where I was going, yeah. Okay, thank you.
here's a press release that's factual without, I'm gonna read some of it. From the Center for Biological Diversity that was released in June 28, 2023. It's the Northwest Environmental Defense Center, Willamette River Keeper Center for Biological Diversity. They filed the notice to sue FEMA over its failure to protect floodplain dependent imperiled salmonoids and orcas in Oregon that are protected under the Endangered
Did they
Species
say
Act.
orcas?
You said orcas.
Orcas, yeah. And I think they're actually southern orcas when you read some of the other environmental stuff. But so there ended up being, the court said 16, the biological opinion says 16 types of salmon. And these southern orcas are what are impacted, that these new regulations are protecting.
You got orcas here in Toledo?
Well, I mean, they never found out.
Well, apparently we have orcas in the Willamette River that we did not know about. Just throwing that out there.
Southern ones.
Southern orcas. Did they like move there when they bought their house from California or something?
They just had a thing on the PBS
Uh-huh.
channel. There's only 74 orcas in our northwestern.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at least one of them likes feeding on the sea lions in Newport.
Well,
but that's
maybe
another
you do that more, that'd be all right, and then they can increase their numbers. And that would help the
So-
fishies too.
So I guess the intent is, you know, and I think I saw somewhere it was 3.7 or 7 point something million members. These 4 environmental organizations are trying to get FEMA to comply with the environmental,
As they see it.
the state endangered species, the federal endangered species act.
Well, I can understand where some of this has come from. I mean, has anybody seen the Willamette River? I mean, it is so polluted. It's so bad. And, and yes, they have some ecological issues. But why are they punishing us over here in Newport and Toledo and on the coast and everybody else who's not doing terrible things to their environment? I mean, it's like, well, somebody's going to abuse that, so you can't do that anymore.
Because they can't pick and choose who they apply the law to.
That's true.
It was a judge that identified all of the
Yeah.
salmon routes and tributaries and everything like that. And so that's why it reaches all the counties, because it goes clear up to Columbia.
Yeah.
I mean, down all the
State.
tributaries that are hitting it, and that's affected this. I mean, this lawsuit goes into so much more as well as.
Yeah.
And we've been, well, I know when I was in Union, we were battling it over moving rivers because rivers weren't in their original bed. They were moved back in the thirties when in this, for instance, when ODOT moved the river up against a bank of a hill so they could put the road in. And they wanted to move the river back out into the
Road.
back out to the road and let it meander as it's supposed to do. But I mean, even with this lawsuit though, that's gonna make that tough because you're gonna be moving into a floodplain and everything now. And I'm like, they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot because the judge said, yeah, move it all back, restore your waterways, do this stuff. But now they're putting these rules in and you're gonna run into the same problems when you try to move the waterways and put them back into where they're supposed to be.
And the river's affected by the tide all the way past Elk City. So
Yes.
all the land along the river, like all the.
Yes.
families that have
Conservation groups are gonna have to go
farms
through
and-
this
and
process.
Farmers, everybody's gonna be affected by this and that's horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in 2018, there was Oregonians for floodplain protection. It's a nonprofit out of DC. And a bunch of cities were involved in the lawsuit. It's US District Court.
That's who put together
for the
the
District of
slideshow.
Columbia. And they, it was kicked out on whether they had standing because they said they had the regulations basically hadn't been implemented, so there hadn't been injury.
Yes.
And so, but it was a challenge to FEMA's implementation of NIMS as reasonable and prudent alternatives to FEMA's administration of the National Flood Insurance Program in Oregon. And it got tossed because of basically there's not an individual plaintiff that they could show harm to at that point. And that's part of the, that's part of the
That's why.
issue that we're gonna have to
Everybody
deal with.
Going the injunction route.
Right.
Because
I think
there's
so.
so many hoops that it still has not done, not just Oregon wise, that's the part that's killing me. It's not just that they're running roughshod over the laws and the statutes of the state of Oregon, but they're ignoring federal law.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because all of this stuff has to go through federal regulatory review
Yeah.
before they do this,
And they
and
haven't.
they haven't.
And they haven't because they missed their deadlines.
Yes,
And they missed their deadlines even though DeFazio got a 3-year extension, which puts us where we're at.
People at a regular job that did that would get fired.
we don't talk about that.
And then they force a deadline on us when they can't hold their own.
Right.
And when they got fired, they could go work for FEMA.
Yep.
So my bottom line question to all of you is, should I let Molly and Sarah know that we would be interested in joining any
Yes.
Yes.
legal action?
Absolutely. That sounds cheap.
Well, I'm just asking.
$5,000 to make this go away is cheap.
Well, I don't know if it'll ever make it go away, but it will make them,
It will join
it
it.
will make
so as
them
our support.
it'll make them actually do their job.
And it might make it more palatable at the end.
And we
So-
would be in solidarity with the rest of the.
Oh.
Yes.
On the planning department in January 31st of 2025, they're gonna create some kind of computer system that they haven't yet. They're gonna require us to track data collection, the amount of fill, compensatory storage. So storage that you're compensating for elsewhere. And new impervious surfaces. So you're gonna have to track whether you're allowing somebody to pave. Area of clearing you're grading, trees removed greater than 6 inches diameter, track acres disconnected or reconnected from the floodplain, and mitigation provided.
So this is gonna be interesting. So my dad, a lot of his properties on the floodplain down there, New Jersey.
So if the tree gets knocked down by an ice storm, some natural thing.
Usually no.
No, we'd have to replace
You'd
it.
have to be replaced. I mean, it's a natural occurrence.
Oh, no, that's.
I don't know.
It's naturally occurred because it was never.
Go ahead, Tracy.
So my question is, so with something like this, so there's a farmer in the area where my dad's farms are down there, kind of hidden valley, that just planted his field with trees. fast growing trees, and then he goes, the idea is to harvest them when they're big enough. You won't be able to harvest those
Oh,
trees.
you can't harvest.
And it's not just there. If you go to the Willamette Valley,
If he harvests them, he'll have to plant 5 or 8.
He's even allowed to harvest them,
Yeah, yeah.
because that field, the fields down there are ditched in around, there's slough all the way around him.
yes.
Every side of it, I mean, you're gonna be hard pressed to find enough room to, because within a waterway,
So
what about people haying their fields that are right up to the slough? They won't be able to hay their fields anymore.
to give you an idea, okay,
More farm.
if you go into the Willamette Valley and you go along the Willamette River, okay, go and see how many filbert orchards are now up against the river. Go and see how many hay fields are up against the river, how many grass fields are up against the river, how many everything is up against the river. And growing up there, I can tell you what the floodplain is there. The floodplain's about a foot above all that land.
Yeah.
I would just say, it's just so everybody understands too, a major 56 and what that does is that sets it up when we send out those notices that everybody gets that notice that believes that their land rights are gonna be impaired or changed or inhibited can now sue the city.
Yeah, sue the city, not them.
Not FEMA.
And
Not gonna be on the hook for it.
we have to defend it in court.
So if one of our landowners says, okay, this measure is going to impinge on they sue us, even though we had nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, even though,
Have to come up
yeah,
with the money to
Yeah.
pay.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, it's great that we're gonna be there for our citizens, because I know that, we would do that, but that's gonna put a large burden on the city.
so it's
Yeah,
on all these cities and counties that are basically implement this, and you're gonna get sued under state law.
Yep.
You've taken away a property right.
yep.
So if we don't implement it, then we don't get any.
Then we lose our
Then
national
we don't
flood
get
insurance program.
Flood insurance.
That's
That's why,
why a lot of our markets-
that's why they're looking for the injunction immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I
that's for
agree.
sure.
Okay,
So either we get sued for violating their property rights or we get sued for taking away their flood insurance.
Yep,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because we didn't do a FEMA one.
and that's why this is blackmail.
Yes.
yep, exactly.
injunction, that's what we need.
So I will let them know, that we're on board. When the time comes, we'll come back, we'll go through a decision item on how much that is. But in all of our talks, it's been for a city our size, about $5,000. We'll talk about that more when it comes. I do ask that, now that you have links that you can click to, try to stay on top of this. Because I think what's gonna happen now that they finally put those out yesterday. Okay, yes, no joke. They finally put their model stuff out yesterday. Okay, once cities dive into this, I think you're gonna find that we're just gonna be the tip of the spear. And as people who've known me for a long time, I like a good fight.
So those 2 documents that you forwarded to me, I did post them on the website under this meeting as other attachments, and I do have 4 copies printed out in case someone wants paper copies, otherwise.
Yeah,
there are more.
remember, it's a 39-page ordinance,
I'll take one, Lisa.
okay?
I'm
Yeah,
having-
thank you.
So I got
Exactly.
the check. I think
So-
I might have been short on that, Mayor.
It might have been more than 30 minutes.
No, it's the model ordinance PDF that they sent is 47 pages.
so 4 extra pages of, oh.
And they,
mine.
and they were kind of offended. Some of the planners today were like, and there were attorneys on too, but well, that seems like aside from personalizing it to the cities, that seems like an 80 or 90% solution. Lots of questions raised, lots of, well, I'm gonna have to talk to my staff and answer the questions. So they haven't worked out all the details.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of planners and attorneys looking at this model ordinance, asking questions that are nobody knows the answer to.
And the other thing I wanted to ask, and I would have this to Lisa by Friday so that she could include it in next week's packet. a letter to our elected representatives, and I'm willing to write that. But then Lisa can do her magic and format it into all the ways it should be formatted and not just my chicken scratches. So, does that work for everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right. Next up, decision items. Contribution Committee Grant Recommendations. Go ahead, Lisa.
Mayor, council, moving to a more positive note.
Yes, thank you.
In your packet are the annual recommendations by the contribution committee. In every fiscal year budget, there are some money set aside. And what this money does is it's provided to local organizations that provide social services. This year, there was $23,250 from the what's known as the sin tax, alcohol, cigarette, and marijuana tax. And the request that came in totaled $20,270. Following the committee meeting, Lisa Watson from the Railroad Historical Society, she found out that there was a little bit of money left over. And so it's kind of included in your council report, the, what is it called? The Model Railroad Group, they've been absorbed into the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society, and they would like to relocate and install a model railroad on the bottom of what's known as Berry Roosters at 139 South Main Street. And so they're requesting, what did she say? $2,000 for that. And so that did not go before the committee. That's just coming straight to you for consideration.
So it says that she wants this money, $2,000 to remodel a 32-foot by 22-foot display. There is a remaining, this is just my brain thinking, remaining balance of 2,980 left over after all these other contributions. I don't know about y'all, I don't think $2,000 is gonna cover that. Remodeling, doing.
Well, I don't think this is all the money for it. I think that,
Go ahead.
I think that the Railroad Historical Society does have some money to put to it.
Okay. I was just saying, why can't they just get the remainder of what's left over in there to go towards it, since this is going towards our community?
Well, and think about it this way too, Frank, if Barry owns the building, a lot of the structural stuff he would be responsible for.
Yeah.
But they would be responsible for facade, which is gonna bring that price down quite a bit.
That's true. I was just doing it in my head and I know
Oh, yeah.
construction, and there's no way it's only costing $2,000, so.
No.
Barry's doing the space.
Well, no, it's not, he took me down there and showed me where it's gonna
Right.
be and everything, so.
Yeah.
I was
I
just
helped
thinking
move a
that.
lot of this stuff in, yes. Oh, it's up.
How many times have you moved it?
Don't talk about that.
We think this would put an end to that. It would no longer be stored behind the garage station. That station garage.
I know. Any other questions on the recommendations from the committee?
No.
They're asking for 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
And I should probably note that this year, the Pacific Railroad Historical Society did not request money for their actual organization because the city council did allocate $12,000. And neither did the Toledo History Center.
This is more for the model club than.
Yeah.
Even though it's part of the, like.
Yeah, because now that it's been folded into the historical
Right.
society, yeah.
Well, does anybody have a problem with adding the additional $2,000 from the Yaquina Pacific Railroad into this?
No.
No. Jackie, do you have any problem with that?
No, sure don't.
Would you guys be ready for a motion?
The only thing that I would like to make sure is that the railroad model club and Barry Brewster have a contract. So
We cannot, as that's beyond our purview.
okay,
That's up to them.
I'm just concerned about that money and helping Barry and not the.
I think there's very little possibility.
All you can do is restrict use.
Yeah.
So we can say that it's not for any building improvements.
Doing the
Or-
road. And knowing Lisa, it will only be used for the.
Right.
railroad.
I think they're usually pretty careful about that.
Well, it tells us exactly here what it's gonna be utilized for. They're gonna remodel the space a little bit. Sheet rock installation, painting, lighting, flooring, and a bathroom remodel. Why is Barry not paying for that?
Redo all that, if you've seen that building.
I know that, but that should be
Yeah,
the property owner's responsibility.
Not if the
That's,
occupants are gonna be doing.
The bathroom probably is.
I wonder if they're using this space for free.
Brand's not gonna go there.
Yeah.
I think they are.
They are? Okay, that would explain it then. Okay. Well, if they're gonna be able to do that in that amount, that's pretty good. So I think they've given us pretty good detail. I mean, it seems to me like what they want to do with the money is beyond what the $2,000 is gonna cover. So I think it's pretty unlikely they're gonna misuse it. So you guys want to entertain a motion?
Are we done with discussion? Jackie, do you have any questions?
I sure don't. Thank you.
And then I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to approve the contribution funding as proposed and presented by the Contributions Committee. Including, and in addition to that, including $2,000 for the Uquina Bay or Uquina Pacific Railroad Society that was asked for after that, bringing the total amount to $22,270. I second it. Sorry.
Been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim, to approve the contributions funding as proposed with an addition of $2,000 for the Uquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society, bringing the total amount to $22,270. Any questions on the motion? Now I'm double checking myself all the time. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Oh, I'm raised.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It's the hand you're right with.
The kid video, they're going through all of these anyway.
Yeah.
We hashed them out. That's great.
All right.
I love the city, that the city does that.
You. All right, next item. The management compensation plan update. Doug?
So back when I started a year ago, read through the management compensation plan. It was developed in 2012. And there had never been updates to it since that time. So it was 12 years young. And so I got to reading through it, and it's kind of like a bargaining agreement for the management and staff, not including Mike and myself. So I brought it to a management meeting and allowed them to kind of go through, and it's kind of what we came up with, what would be updating the plan, bringing things up to more industry standards and the way they've changed over time. The biggest changes you're going to see is we updated the longevity to what we did for the DEA to make it the same. Some of the employees were categorized incorrectly as either exempt or not exempt. They and maybe under the current job titles and the current roles that they play, they are classified correctly now. And this plan did that. We applied a new section to incentivize and reward our managers to be involved in the community. It's kind of a new thing. To get them involved, whether it be Rotary or participating in events or doing something, and then giving them it's just a one-time small annual stipend to be involved in something in the community, to be seen and show the city's involvement. Another change was as you know, being exempt, many of them, they don't get overtime. And so we changed that. Well, back in the day, they were given 3 1/3 hours a month for that compensation. And it's a pain in the butt to track. So what we did is we want to give the time upfront, 40 hours, use it or lose it, no rollover. And it's to incentivize them to say, hey, we want you to take time off because you're putting in the extra time. We want you to take time off for your own mental and health and well-being. This doesn't apply to non-exempt employees because they earn overtime and
Right.
so this is for those that are exempt. And it's basically giving it up front and then letting them use it or lose it, but it's to encourage them to use it. This way, we don't have to worry about tracking it over year. It's easy to budget for that type of thing. And then to also reward them for their additional hours, they were hoping to bump up the vacation time accrual a little bit so that they earn their hours a little quicker as compared to the other employees. So because they're not getting paid, they have a lot of extra hours doing functions and those types of things. So they're trying to compensate those hours into essentially additional hours, which would earn them additional time off, if that makes sense. So that is what the big changes are in the plans. If you
Page 27 of 69, you'll see the management team supervisors, not exempt supervisors.
yeah, so we updated that to our current list of where we're at. I think the biggest change is the accounting supervisor is a non-exempt supervisor by FLSA standards. And then the police sergeant and our dispatch supervisor. So all the others follow under exempt status but even the non-exempt supervisors have some of this stuff. The only things that they're left out of is because they gain overtime, they don't get the additional comp time benefit that
The 40 hours up front,
Yeah.
which was 3.3 hours a month.
And I think if you look under page 32 of 69, the accrual chart, I believe 1 to 4 years is generally 8 hours per month, and they bumped it. They were asking for 10. So, and that's basically a 2-hour bump all the way through is what was asked there. And then just to show you, if I can find it here real quick. Under oops, I went too far. No, I was looking, community involvement under page, the top of page 31. If you look under there, it just says the big change there, all department directors and supervisors are urged to be involved in the Toledo community by participating in community activities outside that related to their employment, included nonprofits, volunteer boards, elected positions, youth, sports activities, community organizations, or generally volunteering time to at least 3 community events annually. So any one of those things, because some people, maybe they're not involved, but they help out or they volunteer their time for maybe the Summerfest and the Wooden Boat Show, and they just volunteer time. And if they do 3 of those, we recognize that it's just a one-time $300 stipend in January. So that was the newest thing added.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
What if that stipend hit like in December so they could use it for Christmas?
Okay, that's a nice idea.
That is a good idea, at the end of the year instead of the beginning of the year.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't.
So have it
It would actually need to be the end of
at the end of
November.
November.
Yeah.
So have it moved to the end of November.
I'm just thinking, because that, it kind of like, with Christmas coming up, everybody gets stressed about, this and that. And it's just nice to have it during the holidays for that.
That's a good idea.
That's
I mean, it's only $300, but $300 is.
I was looking at it to pay my credit card bill in January.
Before or after it all.
Yeah, I mean,
Have it for
But
the,
either way, I don't think you would hear the argument either way from the staff. Like I said, this is basically their plan and I'm presenting it to you on behalf of them, and
I think they.
you
did
have
great.
staff in here. If you want to ask them about it, it's their plan.
so, go ahead.
The HR person coming on, would they be falling into this or?
So just a regular employee, wouldn't they?
Yes.
They are, they're non-exempt.
In the non-exempt?
Yeah, so they would be added to the non-exempt,
All right, so we have 4 department heads essentially in the room. I'm gonna start with Lisa Fox.
Good to go.
Larry?
Yeah, it pushes us out into the organizations. So I think it's kind of nice. Thank you.
What's the preference, January or December?
Oh, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, me, quite honestly.
Brian?
I appreciate the support and it does recognize the extra hours some people put in. It's appreciated.
Harrison?
thank you. Likewise, everyone else said. Appreciate the support and. Yeah, I like it.
The law.
Chief Macy's on my phone.
Yeah, is Mike online?
I am. Yeah.
Hey, you can talk. I heard that was hard earlier today.
Yeah, well, I'm feeling the other effects right now. So, yeah, I'm not doing so good. But I really do appreciate the city coming together and looking at the management plan. It's been years since it's been looked at, and I know it's something we want to do every 3 years after we get done with the TEA. So I appreciate that. I think the next step would be the salary assessment for all of our employees. As I'm going to talk about in later on, my section, retention and hiring is a huge problem for a lot of our departments. And so I think we have a good plan and compensation. I think that would attract a lot of people.
Any other comments, council?
No.
I would entertain a motion.
So is this an actual, I thought this was a discussion item.
No, it's.
No,
It's a decision.
Motion to adopt.
I
Oh,
make
well,
a
I
motion
think
to
to adopt
adopt the
it.
revised management compensation plan and making it effective date as of August 1st, 2024.
I'll second that.
You guys want to you want to amend it to be the end of November?
Well, they don't seem to care.
They didn't carry the way.
They don't care. They'll see with what they gave us. Because they're came up with it. So, I mean, does anybody, I guess before we finish it,
Here.
does anybody want their money in November instead of January for their volunteer?
They could get a loan.
Nobody cares. Okay, yeah, leave it.
As written. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Tell I got us all in a good mood with that earlier presentation. It's been moved by Frank, seconded by Tracy, to adopt the revised management compensation plan and making its effective date of August 1st, 2024. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah, right.
Next item, state legislature direct funding for Olala Meadows housing project. Doug?
So, I gotta put a little caveat on this after some more information that was found out here just recently, but needless to say, attached, you have all the contract information, signature cards, all the stuff we have to fill out in order to get our money, which was allocated through some direct spending through the legislature. And this is to put in the looping water line, fix the sewer line, some road surveys, street surveys out for the Olala Meadow project. I'm asking that you allow the mayor and I to sign the appropriate paperwork. But I want to add the caveat that we can meet the conditions of the purpose of the bill, because we did find, and I say that because in the bill, and I did a lot of research on this since, the application came out and asked what we had for a housing project. And I specifically on that application put it as 30, 60, 80 housing. And which is affordable housing, low income. 30, 60, 80. Specifically says that on my contract, specifically says it on all the numbers I've done it.
Sure.
When it went to the legislature, I think we got put in the wrong bill. We got put in the workforce housing bill, which is 80 to 130. So we're working with Business Oregon, with our legislator, trying to see if we're gonna have to get an amendment to the bill or if they're gonna let us move ahead. I don't know. So we're kind of in limbo now on this 640,000. And the problem comes because the funding through Northwest coastal housing is all 60%.
Is on low income.
Low income. So that if what they told us, if they go to 100, if they go to the 130% housing, they lose about $3.5 million in funding for their building.
Which they would have to make 30% of the units out there 80 to 130% rather than.
So what I'm hearing
60.
is we did everything right and somebody else screwed up and put it in the wrong thing at Salem.
It
And
appears, I went through all my emails. I went through everything. I was like, did I screw something up on the application? And everything was point blank. We were
Yeah.
going for affordable housing.
Every time I testified on it, every time I talked to the legislature about it, I said, it's 100% affordable housing, which means 60 or under.
Mhm.
So I don't know how it happened, but it did. Now, I'll be honest, had a short conversation with Representative Gomberg, who is the co-sponsor on the bill. He doesn't think there will be a problem. We just got to figure out how to fix it.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
So what, let me see if I understand what you're asking. To us to add that caveat, basically saying that to accept this unless they say it can't be done the way they did the bill.
If we, I was to accept it, if we can meet the criteria of the bill.
If we can satisfy the.
That way, if it takes us a couple of weeks to get this figured out, I don't need to bring it back to be signed. You've already gave us the permission as long as everybody else.
We meet
sign
the
on.
criteria.
That would be the original plan, the 60, whatever that's.
Can I just add, the bill contemplates that they will pay back the $640,000 if the development doesn't happen in a certain timeline.
Right.
And so that's the caveat.
That's why we've got to get moving. And that's why we're trying to push this through. So.
Yeah.
We've got to get a lot of our stuff done before they can break ground. So.
So I mean, worst case scenario is they don't get the 640,000.
Worst case scenario, we don't get it and we'll have to figure it out on how to get our looping and everything done that we need to do on our own money. As basically Northwest Coastal told us on the phone was that it's cheaper to provide us the 650 than it is for them to lose 3.5 million in construction costs. So,
Yeah.
but either way, we're trying to get it worked out and figure it out, a path forward.
So if the floodplain thing goes in, how are we gonna drill that?
That one is above the floodplain. It's not in the floodplain.
That's shocking.
The portion that was in the floodplain has been partitioned off.
Broke the dike
Yep.
to mitigate for the tip property.
Been down that road a lot, so. That's how we also got 18 acres of what we essentially can't do anything with anyway. way that.
Effectively on that, everything has been done on the city side as far as getting the property ready. The wetlands delineation, the elevation surveys, all that stuff it's ready for them. Other than the infrastructure.
What would that mean for the bridge?
You know where?
I wasn't gonna finish.
I was.
We wouldn't be able to put that in either.
No, that's a.
The bridge to nowhere really does become the bridge to nowhere because trying to put a piling in there would kill it.
Yeah, it's not.
I just-
Exactly. I think we should use that bridge someplace else.
I wouldn't mind dropping it on FEMA's nose, but anyway.
We could take it to a park and have a nice bridge.
Yeah, we could.
Anyway.
We'll you figure out the placement.
Without any more discussion here that I'm hearing on this topic, I would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the contract for $640,000 of State of Oregon legislative direct spending and authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign the contract with Oregon Business Development Department, fully aware that there might be some issues that they have to overcome.
I'll second that.
No, it has to say contingent on meeting the.
Okay, contingent upon meeting the criteria,
There we go.
There you go.
blah, blah, blah.
Do you accept that change?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
I'll take it. I'm sorry.
It's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Frank. To accept the contract for $640,000 of state of Oregon legislative direct spending and authorizing the mayor and the city manager to sign the contract with Oregon Business Development Department. As long as we meet the criteria. Sound right?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Right, yeah, W.
And Councilor Burns did vote in favor.
Yes, she had her hand up. Next item, approving an untreated water services agreement with Georgia Pacific Toledo LLC.
Don't we do this every year?
Yes. Gee.
Well, we've done it a few times. I think we did it the first time in sometime between 15 and 17. I did the first contract. And basically that contract, this contract and the contract since comply with water law. I mean, you have to take water out of the same place that you have a right to take the water out of. It's first in time, first in right system. So we have an older water right. GP, when they curtail the water in the Silex, their water right gets shut off by Oregon Water Resources Department. And so they're an industrial customer of ours that this is selling them untreated water for the price of treated water prices. And basically we did a little attachment and where our water runs underneath the reservoir, our water line runs underneath it.
We have a spigot.
We have a spigot where we can pick out
Hose or-
a small hose that really is
There's the hose, yeah.
millions of gallons. And so what I did in the last one, what we did in this one is there's a 10 million gallon water guarantee. So whether they take the water or not, they're paying us for 10 million gallons. And I don't know if you have any questions, but that.
We do. Yes.
Oh,
And the price went up this year.
There's somebody raising a hand.
Yeah, that's GP.
That is the Georgia Pacific Public Affairs Officer, Andrea Formo. Yes, Andrea.
Dialing in from Atlanta. Hi, Mayor. Hi, council members. I just wanted to make the note that while we are requesting re-entering into this agreement, Georgia Pacific at this time is not in a place where we need to buy water. So we are still entering into it with the understanding that, we'll pay for that minimum as required by the contract. But despite kind of the dry summer we've had, we're still in good standing with our water because we've implemented quite a few water conservation techniques over the last year. And so I just wanted to throw that out there for y'all's awareness. I know we had this conversation last year as well, and that was something that came up.
Yes, Counselor Kaufman.
Just for the record, there's always in the past been arguments against this because we are giving water to somebody who's been denied water from the same source. But my argument every year has always been that we have the water right. Our water right is we have a range between here and here. If we don't meet the minimum, the here can come here. So the chances are we may supply a GP with the water, but that makes it so that we're above our minimum. So we aren't gonna lose our maximum. So the only thing that this does is benefit us
So
down the road.
Counselor
Even though
Kaufman
it sounds
brings
like-
up a good point. It's kind of use it or lose it. And back in 15, which this contract, we added language, I added some language that we could
Clarified.
go higher. But way back when we didn't have a water conservation management plan in place. And so we were limited to 2 million gallons a day. And that included what we pumped to Seal Rock. That's no longer a part of us. I added language in the contract that if we confirm that we're good to go, we can go beyond that. I think we have actually 6 million gallons or
Yes.
8 million gallons a day. Water rights.
Yeah.
But back then we were limited, and since we lost Seal Rock, it's probably not likely that they'll go. If they want water and they need more than 1 million gallons a day, we could go to the Water Resources Department and clarify.
Well, I was making my statement because I don't see anybody here this year, but they have been here every year.
That's a good thing.
So we've always not ignored them, but leaned the other way and granted the contract because it is to our benefit, because it decreases our chances of losing water rights. Even though it does take away from this.
And that first time we did have a consultant come in and was supposed to run the numbers on how much water that we were basically during that week, during those 10 days, doubling our water usage. And that's what they look at to perfect water rights, is how much you're using. And so that was a benefit to us.
In the overall picture, yes, there is this problem, but
So-
it's our benefit,
So
so.
what you're saying is that we should be pumping that much water anyway
We could be.
and using that much water to keep our water rights up. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Yes.
So
Okay.
my question is I was here last year, I was sitting in the gallery out there. When Betty was up here and she was asking about recycling water. Is that part of the conservation? I think she was talking about 80%. That's what she was asking last year when you guys had this discussion. How much are you guys recycling at GP now?
I don't have an exact number per gallons for you, but I can tell you that water is run through our system 6 to 7 times before it is actually put out into our effluent line. And only about 12% of the water that comes into the mill is put out into our effluent, right? And so almost all the water that we are using in Toledo in our manufacturing process goes into that process and stays in that process. Beyond that, we have weekly meetings with our water conservation team just to start identifying different opportunities within our system to improve how we're managing water. It's a constant ongoing discussion.
Perfect, thank you.
And I would add to Counselor Kaufman, there is a paragraph 12, environmental concerns, unforeseen circumstances that GP probably doesn't love, but that allows us, drought declaration by the governor, any notice or other significant regulatory action by the Water Resources Department or ODF&W. Actual or threatened initiation of emergency listing of species or habitat, threat or filing of lawsuits,
Can I just cut to the chase?
whole bunch of stuff that we can shut it off.
So I'm gonna cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Our residents come first, okay? So if we get down on water, and we get down on water to where we have just enough to satisfy our residents,
Yeah.
they get the water.
Yeah, we aren't
Okay.
drinking water.
It doesn't go anywhere else then, it goes to our residents. So our residents are not in any way impacted by this, other than the mill continues to operate.
Not only that, but it makes the
We
city
protect
money.
our water rights,
Yeah.
I
but,
know, but Jackie,
but that's their impact.
but what I'm getting at is that
Right,
what people
personal
understand
impact.
is that,
Right,
well,
there
what
is.
about my water?
Right.
Yeah.
Their water is not impacted
safe.
by this.
Never in jeopardy.
You're absolutely correct.
Andrea.
Contract.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to address something I think you said, Mike, that I do want to make very clear GP's position on this. We understand fully and will wholeheartedly support the fact that this is Toledo's senior water rights, and we understand that. And, ultimately, we want to be good neighbors and good partners. So if it ever came down to a situation, between mill operations and serving the residents of Toledo, I mean, that's not even a question for us, or an environmental impact. It's not even a question for us. So this is, a precaution that we're putting in place, an extra layer of safeguard so that we can make sure we're maintaining operations and ultimately employment for our 430 employees that we have there on site.
No, and Andrea, I maybe misspoke. I totally agree that would be your position. I just mostly wanted to explain that was there for those that were concerned with it in the past.
Sure, and I think that they had some very valid points. When we had this discussion last year, there was one resident who was really concerned, and I think reasonable people can disagree about reasonable things, and we've done a lot of work to try and clear up some of the misconceptions about how we're using our water, our environmental footprint, all of those good things, right? So I don't think everybody's always going to be best friends or always agree with it, but I think it's our obligation to make sure that we're explaining how trying to mitigate any potential impact to the city of Toledo and its residents.
Thank you, Andrea.
I just would like to reiterate that again, as Andrea stated, last year was a drier year than this year, and they use only enough to turn it on and test it. And didn't have to use it. As Andrea said, it's a precaution so that if they do get low, they have a source possibly to come to help keep their operations going. And that, they may not even use it. So we don't know.
Right.
And it pumps right into the lake up there.
Yes.
So it actually helps the fish that go up that. creek.
Yeah, save the fishies.
Yeah, and so that was part of my, not only is a slut, but that's a protected stream that's dry, that it runs down all the way down here to where they pull it out at where they have the right to pull it out. So
National Marine Fisheries Service, do they understand that? Oh, shut up.
You didn't even know that salmon ran up that creek.
I didn't, because it's like, I've never seen any of them get past the dam.
Yeah, we go up
Until
there
Larry
below the dam there.
Showed me pictures.
Yeah.
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 I've never seen anybody catch one out of there. I've seen a lot of
Well, I
bass
don't know
out
that
of
anybody
But I haven't
does,
seen
I mean,
a lot of salmon.
can't. Because once.
You do it early.
It's spawning, yeah, if you go early enough, maybe. So.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion before this gets any farther derailed.
I move to approve an untreated water services agreement with Georgia Pacific Toledo LCC.
I second it.
It's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim to approve an untreated water services agreement with Georgia Pacific Toledo LLC.
I'm sorry, it was written wrong in the recommendation.
Was it really?
It says LCC in the recommendation. I'm like, I don't know what LCC is, but okay.
It is.
It is LLC.
LLC. All right. I thought it was a new thing.
Yeah, I did too, but then I looked it up.
Okay. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Next item, resolution number 1561, a resolution recognizing grant revenue and appropriating funds for the 2024-2025 fiscal year.
Mayor, I apologize. The financial director had a pressing issue and could not be here. I can fill you in privately later on that. So I'm gonna let Mike kind of hit this. This is a grant that he received for refrigeration and freezer units at the police department. So I'll let Mike fill you in on that.
Actually, I will.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry.
No, oh no, you get the chair, Wendy.
Chair, okay. Well, I'm Wendy Pickell. I'm your evidence tech at the police department. And I put in for a grant for a new industrial freezer and refrigerator for the evidence division, because we are at capacity with the units that we have now. And with the Oregon statutes, we are required to hold biological evidence longer. And we would like to help victims and survivors get justice for the crimes committed against them. And we were blessed with a grant from the Siletz Tribal Charity Contribution Fund in $8,643.16 for these, and we would like to request that you allocate them for that purchase.
That's a really specific, that's probably how much the unit costs.
Actually, we asked for more. This is what they allowed.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
That is a weird amount.
Yeah,
Like really, really specific.
yes, yeah, I
Must be a
don't know how they do it.
Now, will this get installed directly at the new PD up there?
No, it will be installed in the PD we are currently in, but they are movable.
Thank
So
God.
they will be able to be moved to the new facility, but we will not store evidence at the new facility until we occupy the
I was
space.
gonna say it's not safe yet.
Yeah, no, and
Good.
yeah, it would not be secure.
Perfect. Any questions, council?
No.
Well, I would entertain a motion.
Make the motion to adopt resolution 1561, a resolution of the Toledo City Council to recognize grant revenue and make appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025.
Second.
Student racetrack.
It's been moved by Jackie Kaufman, seconded by Stu, to adopt resolution number 1561, a resolution of the Toledo City Council to recognize grant revenue and make appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025. All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Not putting the old freezer.
Wow, thanks for being so patient. Wendy.
They will be repurposed, but we're not sure when yet. But thank you very much.
Sis. Out of the mouth. You don't want your hamburger in there?
Next item, resolution for 1562. A resolution recognizing grant revenue and making appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025.
So on this one, it was expressed to me by the finance director that this isn't the total grant, but this is the grant that she believes will be estimated to be spent this year. And rather than putting it all in and then rolling it over in leftover money or into beginning balance, this way the leftovers can be reappropriated into the next budget and still be accounted for. So what you have here is the estimated appropriation for this year's spending as it's stated there. And then I'll let Harrison talk about the programs.
Come on up.
So-
Come on.
Cheers. Yeah, so we've had some generous individual donations and grants that have rolled in that a lot of times they'll be earmarked either for a specific project or a general purpose, not tied to a specific time frame. Like you can see, a couple of these for the umbrella parade, a lot of these roll through fiscal years. Like we receive the funds in one fiscal year, and then when it comes to seasonal decor and things for the umbrella parade, we gotta wait till the rollover before Denise purchases the seasonal components. Let's see, so we've got some for children's programs, the umbrella parade. And that last one there, the Community Webs grant, that's a multi-year stipend from the Internet Archive for digital for web archiving. So we have a community webs collection of local websites, city website, Newport City website as well. Some the museums here in town. So we have snapshots of the websites as they were way in 2023, 2024. It'll be there, it'll be hosted in perpetuity. So people can go and look at those. And we have a remainder in there to do general digital collections support. The Internet Archive's very supportive and in what you can use that stuff for. And that's the basics on that.
Any questions for Harrison?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move to adopt resolution number 1562, resolution of the Toledo City Council to recognize unexpended grant revenue and make appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025. I second it.
It's been moved by Tracy, seconded by Kim to adopt resolution number 1562, a resolution of Toledo City Council to recognize unexpended grant revenue and make appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Go forth and conquer.
Thank you.
Next item, resolution number 1563.
So on this one, it is two different departments. It has the library and the fire department that receive grants.
Oh, Larry, pull a chair up.
No, I was actually fine.
Yeah, pull a chair up.
I was gonna go to the bathroom, but that's.
No.
So, again, these were just appropriating into the budget, so I'll let them talk about the grants they received.
Well, the fireside, for starters, OSFM gave us 35,000 for seasonal staffing. And so that's.
No, you're on the wrong one there.
No, you're wrong. We already did that one.
You did that one a while back.
That's your GP and.
Yeah.
Emergency.
Yeah. So the emergency management one for $2,500. We're gonna get some solar powered generators. One of the problems we ran into last year during the ice storm was people on oxygen were having issues. And if you're on more than 1 or 2 liters, just to throw bottles at those folks really is a tough thing. Gas powered generator, those people pressure, if they're on oxygen, they're probably not in good enough shape to go fill it with fuel. So 2,500 matching, gonna get at least 2 1,800 to 2,000 watt solar powered generators. Now that is way over power. That's more than needed, but it's not a generator. So it has to have the power to run this item all night long until it can start charging again the next day. So one of the first things I ran into is you don't need one that big. Well, I don't if I'm just running it for lunch and it's sunny. But to put the solar panel outside, the generator inside, and run the concentrator all night, 1,800 to 2,000 is what we're looking. And so talked with a couple other agencies, they might jump in and maybe we can get a better deal on a couple, but so that's that one there.
Is that fire?
That's one.
All right.
We got a $10,000 grant from Department of Forestry for some new fire hose. And that's one we do about every other year for some different things. We got,
No.
That's right.
Georgia Pacific Foundation was 10,000, the Department of Forestry is 4,500.
that's right. Pay attention. Yes, GP, Alexandria.
Yeah.
That was fire hose also on that one, although that one is supply line. Yeah, no kidding. Do you have larger font? Is there an increased font? So yeah, they did a grant for us on this one for supply line. Where the next one, wow, look at that. Holy crap. Yeah. Need to back up. Where the other grant, 45, was for attack hose, smaller stuff. So one of our engines will be pretty much completely outfitted with all new hose. And it's designed this time for the our wildland urban interface engine. Engine 4101, which runs a 3-inch supply versus 5-inch because of its kind of purpose in the not in the neighborhoods, kind of out in the brush. So that's those. I hope I get to come back. I have a couple more grants out there, but I don't have answers on those yet.
I just want to say, I know how hard it is to apply for grants. It takes work. And, you know, seeing all of our departments, we've seen such an increase in you guys applying for and receiving these grants and bringing it in. And you guys are working hard for this town, and I hope people recognize that.
It's good. And the grants aren't as bad as managing them sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the OSFM. They've been very generous to us on some stuff and trying to manage those. And even though the requirements aren't too bad, but when you get 3 that are all from the same office, it's like, which one were we talking about?
Yeah.
So that's been, but it's great. Thanks for your appreciating that because it's great. Getting the toys, the things.
And it's all the departments we're seeing that from, not just one or
Yes,
two, everybody is, so.
Yep.
And the library's line items here, we have a personal donation from the family of one of our longtime patrons, JD. We've been in contact with his family and putting together something really special in memoriam for him. And that's, you know, somebody we miss a lot and something we greatly appreciate. And we also have a grant, a remainder from the Vincent and Virginia Moore Fund supporting our operations. We're increasing our staffing. We've got a lot of programs on the way, and having these funds is immensely important to us in terms of paving the way for a bright future.
Councilor Burns, did you have a comment?
No.
Okay. Anything else, Arson?
That's the gist.
Okay. Well, I gotta reiterate what Tracy has said, because I know a lot of departments in other cities that don't do this. And you guys are bought into what we're doing here. And that is so important to the lifeblood of this community. How you all get volunteers to buy in to doing things that, I'll be honest, we sound strange when I talk to other people about how many volunteers we have in the library, how many volunteers we have in the fire department. You know, how many people actually get out and do stuff in our community, and you guys lead the way. Thank you.
Yeah, that whole team at that meeting today, when I think Doug told them how many volunteers we had at the fire department, their jaws hit the ground like, huh?
What?
You have that many that just show up, volunteer? They were all just blown away. How many people?
Like a wonderful group.
Yeah.
And with these grants, the same one we got a couple of years ago for the portable repeater system that we got. That is a package deal, and it has 2, they're very specific radios. They're BK 5000s. They're inside of that. Well, that's the same radios the fire marshal's office uses. And with all the fires going on, and when we had a deployment, they said everybody's required to bring their own BK 5000. Like, well, I got one of those. So I took the repeater apart and put a clamshell battery on it, and they took it on the tiller fire they just got back from, and Not all the agencies had them, but it increased communications drastically.
Which is very important when you're on a fire.
It was stupid, it was simple, it surprised me. I was like, I forgot I had one, I had two of those. But
You take my husband on the next one, he's driving me nuts this year, he took me off.
And our,
I'm literally in the hospital, do you see all the fires blowing up?
and I do want to just add on that our finance director and our city administration have been immensely helpful in helping us track these grants and make that more efficient and
Good.
easy on us. Yeah, it helps to get the help.
yeah,
Good.
they're patient folks.
Well, good. Any other comments? I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 1563, a resolution of the Toledo City Council to recognize grant revenue and make appropriation for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025.
I second it.
So moved by Frank, seconded by Kim to adopt resolution number 1563, a resolution of the Toledo City Council to recognize grant revenue and make appropriations for spending in fiscal year 2024-2025. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Don't leave, because we are now reports and comments. And I'm going to start with Harrison.
Yeah.
Carry it, huh?
Get my notes. Yeah. Paper notes. Our assistant director posting closed on the 17th, so we are moving on to reviewing applications and we'll be proceeding with that recruitment process. We're really looking forward to that. Tomorrow, August 22nd, our final summer reading presenter, performer, guest will be Mid-Coast Watersheds, there to discuss and share some interactive activities to teach kids about our local watersheds, what they are, how they work, why they matter. It turns out water issues can be kind of important and consequential if anyone can envision such a scenario. On Tuesday, our tween summer book club is getting to have a sea otter encounter at the Oregon Coast Aquarium.
Yes.
13, I was about to say, can I?
Yeah, that's gonna be,
We need chaperones, huh?
it's gonna be a good time. They look little, but they weigh like 100 pounds.
Yes.
Immensely strong. They got hands like rocks. Twins. And if anyone checks out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, we recently did a king tubing animation workshop that resulted in a nice little montage of animated characters reciting favorite quotes from books. And so that's posted. It was all that work was done, not counting all the prep, but it was done in 2 hours by our participants. And it's a lot of fun. We're really proud of them. Yeah, that's available now. And
How long is the video?
1 minute and 24 seconds.
Does it have audio to it?
Yes, it does.
We watch it?
Let's see if I can.
Can Lisa bring it up?
Should be able to.
Okay, I don't think I audio.
You can find magic wherever you look. Sit back and relax. All you need is a book by Dr. Seuss.
The more that you read, the more things you'll know. The more things that you learn, the more places you'll go. Familiarity breeds contempt in children. Mark Twain.
Does your family own a cat? No, why? I thought I heard it meowing last night. That's just our dog. He's been listening to foreign language tapes.
You're a wizard, Harry. Dreams are just thoughts waiting to be illustrated.
Her mind was so nimble, and she was so quick to learn, that her ability should have been obvious, even to the most half-witted of parents.
All the seats for that are free.
Great.
Yeah, we had a great time. Yeah, we're super proud of them. Our last thing, I saw that in the packet, we had not gotten our circulation numbers yet. But for last month, our total circulation was 2,862 items. Our district cataloger has been working hard on crunching numbers for our annual statistical report for the state library. Keeps the numbers coming. What I got?
Any questions for Harrison? All right. Chief Robison.
Not much. I don't have any animations for him, but with the fires we've had across the state, we were lucky enough to deploy 2 different times from Toledo. First time was Lieutenant Harris when the new hire went out as an engine operator with Central Coast. When he was out there, he was able to complete his task book for engine boss, which is a position we didn't have. And so then he was able to go out with our small brush rig Type 6 to the Tiller fire and take one of our vehicles, himself and one of our volunteers, and spent just shy of a week down there on that one. And came back tired, and that was, I think, Friday they got back in, back to work. A little bit of rain's good. Thing I will add on there real quick about the grant we got last year from the county for addressing. If anybody's looking for addressing for their houses, come see us. They're free. It's part of a matching grant, and they're going off wonderful. We've given away a lot of them. It's good.
Are you guys still doing smoke detectors?
Yes, we are. That's in a partnership with the Red Cross.
Okay, I just wanted to know because I've been asked at work.
Yep, we will do that. We'll come. We have to install them. Well, us and or a member of the Red Cross because of the grant that they work through. They also have, if you are deaf, they have the ones that'll vibrate your bed if needed. So if you have a compromised community that needs something like that, they actually have some of those.
We've had a lot of elderly people coming in that they need new fired, smoke detectors and stuff, and they're like $60.
Yeah, we'll come put them in and put them in as many as the house needs. So if you're in a small house and you need 2, or you're in a large house, you need 6. It just equals a little bit of time. There's no restriction.
I can refer them to the fire.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Captain Fussell.
So they only vibrate the bed when the bed's on fire or when the house is on fire?
I believe it starts with the house.
Yeah, that's just battery powered smoke detectors, right? Not the hardware.
Correct. Yeah, they're battery powered.
Any other questions for Chief?
As far as the alarms and such and the accidents and such, it just seems like is it a seasonal thing? The increase on the Highway 20 accidents on there, the local. We respond to a lot of those.
We've had our fair share. We had another one today, and I would blame it on wet roads. It was wet, and so we had that. All of them we've been doing on 20. If you're following the social media twist, it's speed. Could be speed related. Pick your poison on what it is, inattentive or speed. I don't know. I don't know much about the double fatal, I think it turned into by Blodgett. I don't know much about that one, other than I was really happy we did not get invited.
I drove home last night and had to drive through 8 or 9 miles of gravel road to bypass after the day ended yesterday.
So
because of that.
Council Burns.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I just want to say that I did take advantage of the free smoke detector. I had them just come to inspect because I rent my daughter's house from her. And one of my detectors had outlived its life expectancy. Who knew they only lasted so long? So thank you for that.
And yeah, I'm glad you got it. If you need more, anybody?
What about carbon monoxide detectors? Do you guys?
We do have some of those, but they are not part of the plan. But we did purchase some and we have a few.
Okay.
Every now and then we get asked about them. So we have a dozen or so available.
Brian, don't get too comfortable. I need to talk to you.
So Chief,
Yes.
now that we are headed into where we generally get more rain, we should probably do a PSA on the radio to remind people of something I was taught early on before I even got my license, was that the first rain after any stretch of dry.
Yes.
Yeah, very
equals
slippery.
extremely slick roads. And I'll be honest, I don't think that's getting taught to a lot of our younger drivers or even our middle-aged drivers.
You could remind her on there.
Yeah.
We're having a hiccup with the computer right now. Every time the generator does a test, it shuts down. I think I have a fix for it. I can work around that. There's Justin when you need him, but we can work around that one coming up.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, that's a good idea. Weather issues.
Anything else for Chief?
Not only that, but add that you're not allowed to burn yet.
Yeah, we definitely need.
No.
I answered that question more than a couple times.
I knew that was gonna come up citywide, and I sent dispatch an email saying we're not in burn complete, but we are in burn restrictions. So you can have a campfire, you just can't burn your brush with all the leaves and the needles that cause the cast off and 3 by 3. So I knew,
All open burning was.
no, you can still campfire.
You
We have burn restrictions.
As long as it's in a container.
Yeah, and you're there.
Burn barrels and fire pits and stuff, you can burn it, just
Burn
not
barrels with a lid.
big
It's gonna be
open.
small.
Yeah, and one of the fires out of Philomath was a farmer burning a slash pile because he thought he could, and a few acres later. Those get expensive. So,
Yes.
Yeah,
so no, please no other burning.
yeah.
No debris burning. Only
Any other
clean-
questions for Chief?
Clean, dry wood.
All right. Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
Brian,
So
come on up.
Our chauffeur the other day.
We had so much fun.
Thank you for putting that together, by the way,
Yes.
and with the tour and
I didn't get no apples.
She was talking about the apples all afternoon, man.
It was fun.
I just said we have to have another tour later on after the apples are ripe, because it's fun to go out there to the water facility and eat apples. During the
They trimmed the
tour.
tree properly, so it wasn't hanging over the fence.
It's trimmed way up there, you couldn't reach them if you had.
that's why they fall. Anyway, are things in public works?
Busy. So to start things off, people notice, and Harrison just shared with me that they struck a deer in their car this weekend. There's a lot of deer out currently. Personally, I've removed 2 carcasses in the last week and a half off of Sturtevant. So just be mindful when you're driving, they're out in numbers. And
Did you remove the one that we pulled out from Double Take Donuts too?
I did not. I saw a picture of it.
How did it even?
I do not know, but they called, they reached out to us and asked us if, we would be able to pull it out, but somehow the steer had wedged itself between the buildings and it's like it ran in there and it flipped upside down. And so it was starting to get pretty ripe. And John, fortunately, it wasn't too bad because it didn't pull apart, but we were told just to leave it out there for Public Works to take care of it. It was gone the
You're
next
wondering
morning.
about how it got in there. It came down off the hill above Double Take Donuts and came down over the bank, and that's how it got in there.
It looked to me like it went in from the
No,
front.
it went in I think it went in from the front,
Yeah.
I saw
but the
picture of
building's
it.
only like this wide.
Yeah,
There's
right.
only this much space in there. There's pipes and everything in there. I don't know how they did it.
Wondering how the deer got to that, like,
Why?
'cause they don't care about pavement around here.
I'm hoping that they block that,
Sorry.
because the next thing is gonna be a kid getting stuck in the.
Yeah, they need to block it off.
They should block it off. So yeah, just be mindful of when you're driving, day or night, they're out in numbers currently. We've got Black Rock Underground that's gonna be, doing the pipe bursting, it's been pushed out to, actually September 3rd now. They have another project that's running over and they asked if we minded push it out and I said, no, we need to take care of it, totally understand. We're waiting on some callbacks from some estimates, some road repairs. So far, we've looked into replacing about 750 feet section of Butler Bridge Road in front of the front edge of Georgia Pacific. The 200-foot section off of Northeast Wagon Road, off of Burgess that needs it's in dire need of repair. Had some complaints called in. And I hadn't put my eyes on it for a little while and it does need some assistance. And then we're looking to repave South Main from Southeast Graham to Southeast Second Street. And we're still waiting on some estimates from that. We have an outfit that's coming in to perform some work. It'll start in this next week. As I'd mentioned before, for beat a dead horse before it takes place, but East Slope Road at Cherry Lane, there's about, I think, a 90-foot section that's getting replaced. It's been pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
On Northwest Sunset Drive, off Skyline, there's a 60-foot section that's getting repaired. 45-foot repair that's gonna be going on off the Northwest 6th and 8th Street, which is basically the entrance to the police department. It's been pretty bad shape for some time. We have some ADA approaches that we're gonna be having done on the sidewalks. Particularly, first one we're gonna do is on Southeast 10th Street. Across from East Slope Park. Get that taken care of in the hopes to pretty soon get some LED illuminated crosswalks put in there too. They're solar powered. We started meter reading today. Nice wet one. Adding some dead end signage onto Southeast 5th Street after some complaints came in. And some folks that live on it. Off of Southeast Eldred is dead end and people have been turning around their driveway a lot. So we're listening. We're still mowing and got small amounts of debris in various places from utility company limbing and trimming that took place during the storms that we're finally getting mitigated. We have solar powered LED flashing speed feedback signs that have now been installed on Sturgeon Road within the Toledo Elementary School zone.
Yes, we were just talking about that.
Some of you know, most of you partook, but we had the tour of the facilities and city entities on Monday. It's kind of a crash course, but it was enjoyable and hope there were some good takeaways. To better understandings how the inner workings happen within our city. We are waiting on some final estimates from Power Systems West for some automatic transfer switches to be installed in our Lincoln Way and high school lift stations.
Yes.
They're currently manual transfer switches, which means that in the event of a power loss, the backup generators have to be manually turned on to restore power to pump stations. An ATS or automatic transfer switch would allow automatic starting of the generators and the power transfer in the event of a power loss. So the sewer pumping stations would be able to function without manual intervention. And
I'd like to add to that part of the ice storm, since those went out and it's part of their mitigation portion of FEMA, so there's a good chance 75% of that will be paid for by FEMA.
Like that.
Wow, they did it right.
as City Manager Wiggins just pointed out, potentially 75% be covered by FEMA, so that's nice. Thursday or Friday, depending when they get here, Pacific Ace is an outfit who does tennis court resurfacing, and they'll be coming take a look at our tennis courts to give us an estimate on what it's going to cost. We have some cracks that need to be filled and the resurface and whatnot. We might even consider putting some pickleball courts in there, some temporary or portable units. And as for everybody's been waiting for, the Southeast First Street project is in full effect. All water line new connections have been established, and just the road portions, the curb and gutter bases, asphalt and striping is what we're waiting on. And the completion date that's been projected now is September 6th.
You flushed the or you guys opened up the fire hydrant at the top of my road. I came home to ruts 6 inches deep right in front of my house. It runs all the way down the road. And then it comes over into my yard. And so I got to spend 2 days trying to manually between us and the neighbor, we manually graded the
Why didn't you
road.
call?
Well, are you gonna go into my front yard and fight my geese to clean up the?
No, but
No,
if we
but-
knew that took place, we would have actually done something about it and helped out.
Well, it's, by the time I got home, my neighbor had our driveway almost completely regraded by hand by himself.
Wow.
He's bored. And then, he's a great guy. And then, he's the one that just bought that house next door to us. And then we go down the driveway and it's like, okay. A good rain or two will help solve some of it because we've already just kind of redone it. But it was like, I thought I'd let you know that that is an issue with that fire hydrant up there. If it,
Gotcha.
you guys have to
I
flush it again.
think if that took place in a line and a reducer should have been put on it to where it deflected the flow. So I apologize for that.
Well, how would you know? It's just what it is.
If
And
there's
it's
some
just-
damage that needs to be looked at, let me know.
Pretty much, I think we pretty much fixed it anyway, so I think we're okay. We might end up looking at grading the driveway again, but we've always done that, not you guys.
Well, if there's damage done, like I said, it's we're
Yeah.
responsible for it. Let us know.
Yeah,
please.
we'll let you know. I just figured it was just what happened, you know, if you guys had to bleed that fire hydrant at any other point, it would have happened too, so. Just life, but I would just
I'm
let you know.
sorry.
It wasn't like I was all too upset. I mean, it kind of got me ahead, like with winter, when the rains come, we get that too, but it's usually not as much. So I told John, well, we'll just have to reroute some stuff, you know, to make sure it doesn't have to rain, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, for future, I mean, obviously you weren't home, but if something like that comes up, please reach out so we know and we can always be better.
Yeah, I didn't even have a chance to get into my driveway, but my neighbor came and told me, I have to let you know, this is what happened. It's like, oh, okay. And I think-
like any other citizen should do.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, I just let you know, we got to redo our driveway and stuff and how could you guys, I mean, I told my husband, I said our vehicles are in the way of them fixing it, so we would have to move everything, you know, our stuff out of our driveway and. So, it's okay. But anyway, yeah, so there it was, it cleaned up the driveway and got us to make sure it was all in order. And, but yeah, so I'm glad that it's getting done. Yeah.
You mentioned they had to do some flushing. I didn't realize they had to do some flooding, so I apologize. So.
Well, it may have just been some flushing, but you know, with not having had any, you know, we haven't had much rain or anything and anything gets loose. I mean, I have one son who thinks pulling out of the drive maybe and somehow just churning everything up as he goes. And so he doesn't, we can't get it through to him, but either way, so then you have all that loose gravel. And of course, when you have any amount of water come down, it's gonna disperse everything. So that was kind of, I got a good chuckle out of it. I'm like, yeah, they won't pave it, but.
We'll have a conversation with our crew, make sure that they're mindful the next time they do that and be.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's not like it's gonna flood my house or anything. So that's not, it was just, it's just pathways. It's not like it's doing any damage to my home or anything. So, you know, just so you know that it's okay.
One of the things I wanted to compliment the crews on, as you know, I've been out traveling a lot the last few months. I really appreciate the fact that we can see our stop signs. I was in communities where the stop signs, let me put it this way, if there hadn't been a faded white line on the pavement, there is no way you would have known there was a stop sign there until you plumb past it. And you're all the way in the intersection because it shows up right about here. Thank you guys. I mean, for staying on top of those little things. I know they're probably a pain in the tuchus. But for a driver who's not used to our area, it's vital. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
And that's one of those things that keeps us from getting sued. You know,
Yeah,
Just as simple as them trimming the bushes away and making sure that. it's
exactly,
visible. I mean,
right?
yeah, we were going over there and there's a couple times it's like, oh, there's this, oh, okay.
And I'm including a very large, well, to us, a very large city located to the east of us. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we know who that is.
Anything else for Brian?
Yeah.
All right.
I'd just like to say thank you for, I saw the guy out there pressure washing part of the park. Up there at the end of Main Street on there, did a fine
Yes.
job.
Yep.
Stuff like that, people see, and I tell you, that crew is great.
Yep.
It's nice. Our guys take pride in their work, so it's nice.
Anything else for Bob? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Pace.
I'm right here. So, I think the main thing I want to talk about is, or kind of give you an update on, is we might be losing an officer to another department. So, we need to really focus on retention and hiring strategies. Like I've told, Mayor Rod Cross and City Manager Doug, we need help. The police department needs help in getting these people. If that means hiring manager or some kind of retention bonuses or something like that. I think those are strategies that need to be thought about with the city and the city council. As you can see, a lot of smaller agencies have collapsed as far as their police departments are concerned, and I really don't want that to be Toledo. We just aren't getting the applications. We aren't getting a lot of things that I mean, it's throughout the whole United States. People just aren't wanting to become cops anymore. So and they're having to be absorbed by other departments. And I don't mean to say that as a fear factor, but I think it's something that we need to have on our radar, that if we don't do something, that could be a possibility.
Well, Chief, you're stealing part of my thunder from my mayor's comments, but I want you all to pull up a report that we had today. In the month of July, 297.5 hours of overtime in this department. That is ridiculous, okay? And it's because they're shorthanded. And we need to do something about it, and I don't mean next budget, as soon as we can. So it's another item that I need you guys to really put your brains to. Be unique, think outside the box. Come up with ways that you believe we can make work, okay? Because we have to have these public safety officers. I don't know how many of you have friends in Siletz, Depot Bay, and Walport, but I will tell you that for the most part, and when I say the most part, I'm going to guess it's about 85% or better, are not satisfied with the coverage that the sheriff's department has, quote, contracted with their municipalities for.
And they're paying through the.
And they're paying through the nose for, yes, and it's not just the nose, they're paying through the nose and other orifices.
Yes, it's terrifying.
Mayor Kathy Short in Depot Bay has told me right to my face, they were really good the first 3 weeks. They were right out on 20, out on 101, everybody could see them. And now, well, they drive through once in a while. I do not want this community to go that route. We've got to find a way to recruit and retain good quality officers. And it can't just be me. I'm hoping that the rest of you agree with that so that we can try to get something in place a whole lot sooner rather than trying to pick up the pieces of something falling apart.
Yeah, a quote that was said today at the LOC meeting about having police officers. And it was keep your safety officers in your city, because that's what brings business. If you want your businesses to die, let your safety go. So I mean, they said that in the meeting, and it's true. So.
And if anyone out there is thinking, oh, the county can do it, I'm going to pass along information that I received yesterday at a different meeting. The county officers will only enforce the basic laws. They will not enforce city ordinances.
True.
So all the wonderful things in our city that we want done will not get done unless you pay them more. So I don't want to go down that road.
Why even more? Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Thank you very
pay
much.
ours
That's
more.
how I'm looking at this. Councilor Burns. Jackie?
Sorry,
It's okay.
I just wondered if is it just simply a matter that our pay level is too low to maintain them?
Well, it's a combination of our pay level, okay, and the fact that there is no stupid freaking insert whatever word you want housing here that people can afford,
Okay.
even on their salary.
Mayor,
I've
if I
said
could,
this
if I can
before,
add to that too.
Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
I would agree that housing is a huge problem out here. And a lot of our officers won't move their families out here because there's not enough jobs, potential jobs for their spouses that they can readily find. And so that's a major problem. I know that the school district, when they hire somebody, they will actually have a headhunter try to find the spouse the job because they know that if the family isn't integrated into the community, they're less likely to leave.
Mm.
I just have a hard time. I work in Newport and I have a hard time with that because everybody's hiring. Is it just that they're such low paying jobs that they're not appealing?
It's so it's a combination of, so when you look at, I'll use my son as an example. Both he and his wife are college educated. Okay. For what she does, she's now a dance instructor and choreographer. There isn't anything out here for her. And on top of that, it is cheaper for them to rent in the brand new apartment complex in Paloma than it is to find anything here. I mean, it's a perfect storm, and we've got to figure out how to navigate our way through it so that we can get to the other side.
I will tell you, it's not just our problem.
Yeah.
Chief will tell you too. I mean, in the meeting today, Lincoln City's low, Newport's low. I mean, everybody is struggling in getting their numbers. A lot of it too is, as Chief alluded to earlier, people just aren't applying. And if you look back in time, there's many things that go on with that. You have, it all started, if you want to go back, it started with Ferguson in Missouri. And then you start building up the animosity towards police officers when you get riots in Portland, the riots in Wisconsin or wherever, Minnesota, Minneapolis, and just the whole bad press that law enforcement has been getting. Who wants to subject their child or other officers when people are looking at the career and other officers are even saying, don't come, it's not a good time. My son was thinking about becoming an officer. I said, this isn't the time, but it's the climate. It's the people and finding the qualified people. I mean, backgrounds are excruciating. You get what you think are good people, and Mike Chief Pace will tell you. The next thing you know, they get hicked up on something little that happened, when they were 18, 19. And so, and we've all been a factor of doing dumb things. So anyway, but Mike, you can take it from there.
Yeah, and I just want to tell you that we do have one individual in the academy, Ryan Gahn, and he should be out of the academy by the end of the year, but he will not be soloing probably till the beginning of the year. I do know that a couple of our other officers have been headhunted by our surrounding agencies, and that is not uncommon. Everybody's hurting. I know that Lincoln City's taken a couple of Newport's cops because they have a very impressive package for their new officers, $20,000 sign-in bonus. So 10,000 the first year, 10,000 after the second year or something like that. It's ridiculous. We cannot compete against that.
The chief of police in Newport's son became a cop and he went to work for Lincoln City.
He did. He got a nice little package from that.
So Chief, any other words of sunshine?
No, not really. We're going to bring up a grant that we got. It's for a digital fingerprinting system that Sergeant Pitcher had applied for, and we're going to be applying for another grant for a personal ballistic shield that CIS said that had suggested that we get, and they would support in helping us get the grant. So
Good. Any other questions for Chief Pace? All right, thanks, Chief.
you're welcome.
Go take care of your mouth, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, the infection's not working too well with me. But thanks.
Lisa.
I don't have much to report tonight, Mayor, although I do want to say that the announcement for the Portland Trail Blazers and MODA Rip City Rally Tour has been announced officially. And so I don't remember, I've said it here and there, so I don't remember if I've actually announced it here. But the mascot, some of the dancers, and some of the other staff in Portland Trailblazers will be here in Toledo on September 18th. Annually, they do a tour of several cities just before the start of the season. And so they'll be going through Florence. I can't remember what else. And then we are the third stop and then the.
Coos Bay,
Yes, thank you.
Toledo, Corvallis,
And Woodburn.
and Woodburn, sorry.
Yeah, and so during the day, they'll take over the schools and do some PE stuff and panels for the high school students. And then they'll be here between 4 and 6 p.m. They're setting up a 50-foot port out by the Port of Toledo Waterfront Park. It's going to be on the roundabout between the post office and the pavilion. So, yeah, there'll be a lot of contests and activities and photo booths that you can take pictures with, like the mascot or the dancers.
Free burgers from the Pope.
I know.
Yeah.
You see, I knew you perked right up there, Stu.
We're gonna sign up for the master dancers and free dancers.
September 19th.
September 18th, which is the night of a council meeting.
I thought we talked about canceling that night.
Yeah.
We did.
But we voted on that.
Calendar.
So just want to make sure.
Yes.
And I had fun on Monday, taking everybody around, so.
It was great.
Yes, it was.
Well, one thing we gotta do next time is we need to either get a set of walkie-talkies or whatnot, so that the lead vehicle, when we're all sticking our arms out
I
and
know,
doing
we're
this
like,
stuff,
what are they talking about?
the folks in the car behind go, okay, that's what he's pointing at. That's what they're talking about. Cause it was hilarious to stop at some place and go, what in the world are you guys pointing at back there?
Or just get the art bus.
Yeah,
No, the art bus would not make it up.
no,
to
that's
Iron
true.
Creek.
Yeah.
All right. Mike?
Mayor, councilors, FEMA, the whole buy-up, it's going to be a painful party for a while. You know, probably more painful than parking that we're gonna talk about, and we'll bring that back and talk about it. September 27th is kind of the deadline that I have to get a psilocybin ordinance, as well as, you know, where we're gonna allow those to be located in the zones. We want the ordinance enacted before somebody comes along and says, I'd like to have a psilocybin facility. And so that deadline is September 27th, and as well as the National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA decision. Kind of will ordinance or whatever we're gonna do will come forward September 27th. Did put the House bill requirements for the $640,000 direct legislative into the 99-year lease and sent that out. That's kind of pending to see how we work that out. You know, whether we meet the requirements of the House bill according to the state agency, so. That lease is kind of in limbo, but it's been sent out, and there's just been working, adding policies that we've approved to the such as nepotism and emo social media to the draft employee handbook that working on, and there's just never got a deadline Monday to respond to an attorney on something, and just a lot of it's just, you know, it's job security. There's always something to do.
Any questions for Mike? All right, Doug?
They said everything. I am working on a policy to update our vehicle policy. I've actually been working on it for a couple months now. It's probably about time that I gotta, prior to bringing to council, I need to sit down with the unions as well as part of the agreement with the unions and make sure they understand the policy coming forward. To meet that requirement before we bring it before council, get their comments, so you're aware of them. The last time that policy was done was when Pete was here, so it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So I'm gonna update it, bring it into modern, little more modern, and remove on a liability issues we had in it, which probably back in the day wasn't as big, but it is now, so. And then I've been working with Mike with FEMA a little bit, getting the 5-inch hose pulled out of my mouth and learning that, and the working on this 640,000, trying to get that secured. So I've been keeping the mayor in loop on that moving forward. And that's, I mean, besides policies and that's what I've been working on. Mike, leaning on him to get the handbook. That's the next phase, to get our handbook updated from 2010. Yeah. So, and then we'll have a good chunk of stuff done that then it'll align with our road survey, which will be starting soon.
Good. Any questions for Doug?
As far as job openings, we're still getting applications and such.
So good response to assistant library. How many total?
21.
22 applications for that. The adult program hasn't closed yet, the adult librarian, but we may surf some off that 22 as well. The human resources job, we had 4 applicants. 5 now?
Yeah.
Okay, so 5. And we're gonna extend it because the qualifications are lackluster, maybe. And not so much lackluster as we're looking for maybe a little more experience. So, but there are a couple in there that have possibilities, but we want to get more looks. So we're gonna extend it till mid-September on that one. On the maintenance worker position, I've seen 1 application in there. I think we're just trying to get I don't know that the word got out on that one as well, so we're trying to get the word out.
Yeah, Brian was telling me about that the other day. If you guys know anybody, there's 2 positions, right? They're entry level,
2 positions.
around 40,000 something a year to start.
But that's with full benefits.
Full
It starts at higher than 40, it's closer to 50.
It's closer to 50,000.
But you get the training, and then, I mean, you could make it a lifetime career. It's really a great opportunity for somebody who's willing to learn and get their hands dirty.
Yep.
There's no age limit then.
18.
Get in there.
I'm gonna be available.
There you go.
But maybe somebody knows.
You can
something
still,
they're
if
just
you
not
can still
getting
jump in a hole and, hey.
Oh, he can jump in. See, there's no record.
Getting out.
Getting out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to help him out.
Retrieval process is a different story.
But I know where the holes are.
That's all. All right, any questions? Jackie, do you have any questions?
Nope, I sure don't.
Well, stay right there, because now we'll move into council comments, and you're up first.
I don't have
Oh, you
anything.
did, Lisa. What was that, Jackie?
I don't have anything. I'm just gonna listen.
Okay.
Thank you.
One of the things that I learned today at that meeting that I think we should possibly do is our citizens don't know where their tax dollars go. And I forget what city it was, talked about, they do a graph. These tax dollars go to this, these tax dollars go to that, so at least our citizens kind of have an idea as to where their tax dollars actually go.
We do that. It's in the front of the budget. It's in the very front of the budget.
We do it every year.
Yeah.
It's in the front of the budget packet.
Are you talking about property tax dollars or rent?
All the different, they were talking about all the different tax dollars that the citizens pay, explaining where their tax dollars go to.
Basically, in their weekly or their monthly newsletter, they were providing like, okay, this month we took in 100,000 and this is where it all went.
Okay.
So there's no misconception as to what the city's doing with their tax dollars, so. Because we all know how people get. The other thing, that tour, I hate to say it, but part that I enjoyed the most was that wastewater.
Me too.
That was the coolest place, looking at the bugs. I even got a video.
I had that written down.
I have a video of the bugs in the phone.
This bugs?
Yes, it's the bugs.
Seriously.
Just the
It was
bugs.
the coolest thing, and I mean, yeah, we saw some pretty cool stuff, but I hate to say it, but the wastewater was my favorite place.
But was it the?
I'm impressed by how clean it is.
It was, and the other cool thing is I learned that Toledo makes their own chlorine.
Yep.
So when all these other places during the pandemic were chlorine short, Toledo was just buying salt and making their own chlorine.
Yep.
Which saves us a ton of money. Yep. That's all I got.
And Steven's very knowledgeable. It was fun.
Yeah.
Both of those guys that you had give us the tours were both knowledgeable.
Well, Zach is also very knowledgeable too. Yeah.
I don't remember the names, but they're both.
But Steven is like a little boy on Christmas morning with his bugs.
Yes.
Like the way it was so genuine. He's like, wait, I gotta get a sample. I have to show you my. I mean, it was like, he loves what he does. Like, who knew that somebody could love wastewater like Steven loves his bugs?
I didn't know wastewater was that interesting.
Awesome.
And those bugs were fresh too.
Yeah.
You just
Scooped them right out of the water.
The bugs made me very happy. Yeah.
Oh,
Everybody did phone.
They should make a video of that.
The bugs.
Tracy?
I am really, really bummed that I missed the tour.
The bugs. Yeah.
But I'm still recovering and I've been overdoing it a little too much at times and killing myself here. I did put in my application for my city council position. And against my husband's wishes, so you guys know how much I love you. And so we'll see where that goes. Maybe Stu will decide to run against me.
I got Andrew.
Andrew, oh, there you go. Yeah, either way, we're good. So yeah, so other than that and not much, I've been taking things really easy, so.
You're right.
So I haven't been as involved out there as much as I was. The last thing I did was National Night Out for the city and
you overdid it.
I overdid it. I enjoyed it so much.
You were great.
I absolutely love being out there and interacting with people and saying hi and seeing people I haven't seen in a while and just being able to, provide a little voice and a little information and it's good. I mean,
you were so bubbly and happy. It was
that is my
wonderful to
element.
see.
That is my element. So, but yeah, I did overdo it. A couple people were having to catch me a couple times as I was like just doing fine and then just kind of fell over. So, but we did good. We did great. We reached a lot of people, handed out almost all the stickers and did really well. So. Yes. That's all I've got.
Jackie?
I too put my name back in the hat. That's it.
All right. Stu?
I just, again, on that tour, we got to go places that the normal people don't get to go and getting up to see Mill Creek Dam, I hadn't been there for, officially, this is the first time, but unofficially I've been there. And I'd have to say that after seeing that and seeing what we are gonna have to plan for in the future to raise that dam, and we really, really should keep that on an agenda. Because if we don't, you know, one of these days, we're gonna be shut down, not shut down, but curtailed from there. And if we have that reservoir built up, it's gonna really benefit the whole area.
Yep.
So, again, kudos for that tour. The other thing is, did do the boat show down on the waterfront, and we had visitors. I would say it seemed to me that it was at least 10-1 as far as outside visitors to the regular residents and such on there, and that's real good to get those kind of people coming to our community, because a lot of them want to stay here, even though they might be from our southern state, so. Yeah, but, since, working a hardware store, I get a lot of people that have just moved here, and they are just so enthralled with this town.
Yes.
You talk about it and they just say, this is the loveliest town. Driven by it on the bypass and came in here and we couldn't leave. It was,
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
So we really are living in a unique place.
That's what's happened with my neighbor. He bought that house and he was gonna flip it and move, and now he's like, I just don't.
Yes.
He likes it so much.
We're more than Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And a lot of people
Thank you.
think that's what it is. And
Very
keeping those
green
banners
interest.
up and events and such on there really helps.
Anything else? Okay. Kim?
I don't need to talk about the bugs anymore, even though I'd really like to.
What kind of bugs were they?
I'll show you a video.
The beneficial bacteria that helps.
The bugs that we have that help to break down all the stuff.
Solids. The solids.
Yes.
It's good bugs, amoebas, and there's probably
Succoria. Don't forget the succoria.
there's like 20 some different types of bugs, but they go in level of importance and you don't want them.
So you've got young bugs that you have to grow them from. You've got the middle bugs, which are your beneficial. These are the ones we
Yeah.
want. And then there's the elderly bugs that get carnivorous and eat the good bugs. So once he sees that there's too many of the bad old bugs, he has to flush the system to encourage
So
more
then
of.
what happens to the bugs when he flushes the system?
They go bye-bye.
They go
Where
out.
do they go?
Well, they leave with the rest of.
They go out to pasture.
Do they go out in the river?
Yeah. Well, no, they go out and
They go
there's
with the
sludge. The
They go out
sludge.
with the sludge.
They go out with
That's-
It gets disposed of, not.
They do not go to the river.
They go to bug heaven.
Right into the day.
Bug heaven.
Okay. Anyway, so Public Works was awesome. We got the murals up at Rock Park, so the new murals are up. I think we had like 35 kids this year participate, that they covered the boards, like, it's awesome. Get a chance to go up and like look at them up close, it's horrible. I think we had kids as young as like 18 months old, just scribble all over. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't, I don't know, but it's awesome. So those are out for the next year. And I don't think there's anything else. Oh, I'm trying really hard to get us tsunami aware. So I'll be coming back with more about that in the weeks and months to come. I'm trying to find our tsunami signs that are missing, so we can put them up around town, and I think that's about it.
Okay. So I've already talked about the police department. I want to remind everyone that we still have one-bedroom apartments available for veterans. Reach out to Northwest Coastal Housing.
Apartments, there's some that's open.
Yes,
One bedroom for veterans only.
yeah, one bedroom, veterans only. They can have a spouse, that's okay. But they are one bedrooms. There they are there, and so if you know of any veterans that are in need of housing or
Is Jenny a veteran?
Yeah.
Sorry.
please reach out to Northwest Coastal Housing and they will get you hooked up.
What about that one veteran that lives over there behind Phoenix and Heather's? Destroyed in the storm.
I should be talking to them.
I don't know who he is, but I heard that you.
I know who, well, I know who talks to him,
Yeah.
so I'll go by and see.
I just thought about.
Thank you.
His son.
I didn't talk about it. Good, yeah,
Yeah, he's a veteran.
good.
Does the local VA know about it?
About the housing? Yeah, he was instrumental in
Okay,
getting funding. On the tour, it had been, so that was my officially second trip up to Mill Creek. Had a few unofficial trips up there.
Not like me.
Like someone else, no, we don't do anything together other than this. But the thing that impressed me the most was my first trip was in 2003, I think. As far as official trips, and this official trip, I got to see the benefits of our contract to have that watershed managed. The amount normally, okay, back, and when I say normally, back before, you could see the algae in the water right where we were. Okay, right from the dam. It was a sunny day and you would see it everywhere. Okay. Did you see a lot of it in the water? Okay. And that is directly a correlation to the people who are helping to manage that watershed up there. And I think that's one of the best decisions we made back in the 2000s was to hire a group to do that for us. And we have a contract with them and they manage it for us. In fact, we ended up being one of the first in the state to do that. I didn't know that then, I know that now. And that vision is also part of what sets our community apart from a lot of other small towns. Folks, we do a pretty good job of reading crystal balls, tea leaves, whatever you want to say, and planning for the future. That's part of the reason why I brought up the whole police officer and public safety thing. Because it's not just our police officers, it's Larry's folks, it's dispatch, it's all those folks that we rely on when we are at our lowest to be able to come in and do a bang up stellar job for us. And I don't want that to leave. In all the time I've lived here, having 24-hour dispatch and having somebody there that person in distress could run to, it's noticed. And it is such a valuable commodity in this town. Having that point of contact that no matter what, day or night, we have somebody that's there to help you. And I really want us to try and solve at least temporarily issue as quickly as we can. I'm going to get a hold of the folks on the FEMA situation with buyout. I've had to bring out one of my favorite phrases from college, which was bovine fecal matter. And I have put it into more than a few emails over the last few months. The best part is when the college educated person on the other side comes back and says, well, what are you trying to say?
You lack intestinal fortitude.
A lot of something else too.
That too, yeah.
But this is a special town. And for me, it always will be. And I want us to work on making sure it stays this way. And part of that is our public safety folks. Stu, you were blessed, you grew up here. Okay, my kids are blessed, they all grew up here. And that's what I was hoping for when we moved here with our number one child way back when he wasn't even 6 months old, was that he would grow up in a town that, sure, they're gonna move away, that's how life works, okay? But when they want to start raising a family, when they want to settle down, they're looking for either Toledo or something like Toledo. Because to me, Small town values, small town way of life is what America, I think that's what we hang our hat on. And when I say we, I mean the country. We're not a country that was built on cities, as in mega cities. We were a country built by little tiny towns all over the place. And that's, I think we need to keep that going. And it's gonna get harder. I mean, as we learned today in our LOC small cities meeting, revenue problems are hitting everybody hard. I love it when when people say, well, your taxes go up 3%. Well, actually, no, they go up about 2.5%. Because that other 0.5% doesn't pay. It's in, they're doing the minor, because the way property taxes work, if I owe $3,000, if I just go down and put 300 on it, it kicks me another year. You can make partial payments. So we don't get 3%, okay? We're running at a 2.5% increase in a world that, at least in the 3 previous years, ran 6, 7, and 7 on average. Okay? We're not keeping up, and we've got to find a way to do that. So put on your thinking caps. Let's see if we can find a way to help our public safety folks. Be aware that we've got some challenges, not just on the FEMA end, but on other regulatory things that are coming along. There are things we're going to have to start taking, for lack of a better word, more seriously. One is being able to operate in times when we don't have power. And I don't mean operating for 3 days. I mean operating for a week to 10 days at a time. And one of the things that we're coming back, we're breaking out the emergency preparedness committee again, and we're going to start digging into things again. We did a really good job there for a couple of years. We kind of took a break the last 6 months. We're going to get back into it next month. And I want to apologize to everyone who was expecting to see me this last weekend at the Wooden Boat Show. My sister passed away on Friday, and I didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to sit at home. I figured that would, let's had the best course of valor, or however that phrase goes, because I wasn't in any shape to be in public. I want to thank all the people in town who have reached out and given us their thoughts and prayers, and especially for her husband. My sister was 53. And cancer took her in 4 months. 4 months from diagnosis to last Friday. If you have stuff going on in your life internally, get it checked out. Okay? Don't put it off. Don't think that it's nothing. Okay? Please. Listen to your body, do what it's telling you to do. And if that means, if it's telling you go see a doctor, go do it. Because it would have only been 5 months, but still, maybe that extra month would have given a lot more months the other end. With that, like I said, thanks to everyone who's reached out to me and my family. I really do appreciate all of your thoughts and prayers. And I'm sorry you didn't know Kim. And then it dawned on me, you don't have Facebook.
Not your job. To let everybody know.
Thanks for putting up with my slideshow presentation tonight. It had the desired effect. It's what it did to me. I had to turn my camera and my audio off in the middle of the presentation when it was given to me, because I was busy screaming at the wall in front of me, using lots of language I'm not supposed to say in public. So, in any event, thank you all. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. And let's be safe out there. Good night.